Looking now into Saturday afternoon's game between Sydney and Collingwood at the SCG. Certainly a tight contest is being previewed for this one. The Pies have been in fine form, narrowly fell to Geelong in their qualifying final 2 weeks ago, and then bounced back to dismantle the Dockers at home. They now shoot up to Sydney in a match they only played a month or so ago, and Sydney had the better of them by 27 points. In a topsy-turvy clash, if anything. The Swans did lead for just about all the match, but the Pies, a late surge, and then couldn't quite hold on to that wave, which was a bit disappointing, but I think this one's certainly going to be a lot tighter.
Yeah, I mean, that game, I think, was just a show of what Sydney are. They were professional. They took Collingwood's game away from them, and they won in a not too impressive style because got the job done. I think that's who Sydney are. It's an incredibly impressive system. The prelim final week, it's the best weekend of the year, bar none. It's when it's all like other than probably last year, it's the best game of footy always seems to happen in this round. And for what we've seen in this finals campaign, if we've still got the best to come, I am hanging out for this game. I'm very interested in this because we've obviously been doubters respectively of Collingwood and Sydney, and I mean they've done well to prove us wrong in the last couple of weeks, but I'm still in the boat that I think Sydney are a level above the Pies. I thought Collingwood were very good on the weekend against Fremantle, but they did let Freo kind of come back into that game when they really had no right to. And I think those little falters, you might get away with that with 90,000 at the MCG against the interstate side. Going to the SCG, that you're not going to get away with that. Sydney won't let it happen. The Sydney crowd won't let it happen. And I just think that's the little bit of difference that we see between those top. I know Collingwood top four, so the sides that win that qualifying final and the sides that maybe just miss out. I also think the SCG is very suited to able to let Sydney take Collingwood's game away. They'll let you have the footy, they're going to take it off you and they're going to hit, and it's almost impossible to defend, except for the fact the SCG is a little smaller or significantly smaller, and Sydney can really compress Collingwood's game. And when they can do that, we saw when they took Collingwood's assets away from them, they never really looked like threatening in that second half of that game, despite what it kind of felt like it was going to come, but it never really did.
Yeah, it's going to be, like you said, a funny one. Obviously, the Pies are actually training at Olympic Park, but with a confined ground, just to kind of match the dimensions of the SCG. Like you said, they love to take the game on, but it can be a bit harder when you are narrow to your options. And there's obviously more concentrated players and less depth for space when you're trying to move the ball forward as quickly and in the pace that they do it. So you're certainly going to be one. And like you said, it was something that they did struggle with in that last time around. I think they've learned a lot from we always talked about the loss they needed to have, and it's kind of timely that was against the Swans. Now they come up against them. They didn't have Jordan De Goey that game. Jack Ginnivan was out or subbed out through injury, and they were just about fully fit compared to how they last played them. And in that game as well, Ryan Clark had that run with Nick Dacos, which didn't exactly turn the game or bring it entirely in Sydney's favour. But it'll be interesting to see if that's a similar situation from what we'll see this week, and how John Longmire chooses to I guess attack Nick Dacos, who has been so pivotal for them at halfback, and that'll be another interesting watch to see. But like you said, these are two clubs that I didn't have here, and they've proven you and me wrong, and more than happy to say that with what they've been able to do, I guess this season, and more so in the back end of this season. It was even coming into finals, I probably had them a peg or two below your Geelongs and your Melbournes, and maybe even your Fremantles and Brisbanes. Maybe they're in the same bracket, but maybe at least less favoured. But I didn't quite have them here, and now one of them are going to be in the grand final, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic. That's not to say that whoever wins this isn't winning the flag, because what they've done time and time again is prove the doubters wrong. And it's going to be exactly the same case this weekend. No matter the margin, no matter the winner, one of these teams are in the grand final, and are certainly going to be in good stead to take out the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely. I think I'll say it now. I think Sydney will win the premiership now. I think we always talk about, you just got to hit your straps at this time, and I know it's hard to deny Geelong, who have won about 1,000 games in a row this year, but Sydney have just nailed down this ability to switch their defence from end to end, which is easy to do at the SCG, and that's what Collingwood like to do to you. They like to make you go from side to side and they'll catch you. Sydney just go across and they go across, and no one puts a foot out of line. I think they're as good as unbeatable for the rest of this year, just purely because I think they'll go to the SCG. It's sold out, a monster capacity. We've seen them sell a game out against Collingwood earlier in the year, only a month or so ago, and
their players feed off the likes of Tom Papley, Buddy. I mean, don't they like putting on a show? They'll get that chance again. We know Buddy loves playing Collingwood in a big final. He's done some numbers to them for the Hawks in the past, and now I think they'll win this. I think you mentioned the job Clark did on Dacos. Collingwood haven't had to throw the magnets around a lot throughout the year. They did in this game. They had to throw Dacos forward. They had to try because Sydney just were one of the few teams in that incredible run that managed to shut them down. So I think Sydney, they'll get the job done here. I think they head to the MCG on that Saturday afternoon, and I just think they'll get it done. I think the trust that they've earned in, I mean, more or less probably 20 years, but they've always had this underlying, you can always trust the Bloods, and what they've managed to do in the second half of this year, I think they're just peaking perfectly.
Yeah, I think one thing that really impressed me with their qualifying win over Melbourne was just their role players. Their bottom six really stood up, Clark being one, Dylan Stevens having absolute blinder in his first finals game, and Robbie Fox as well. Some of those players were really, really solid for them. I am tipping the Swans, but that could easily be changed in the next hour. This one is going to be intensely close. And it sounds like you've got the Swans as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Swans. I'm going to tip them for the premiership. They definitely better win this weekend. I think the week off will be a nice little one. I think Collingwood, and fair play to them, have ridden off emotion for a lot of this year, and they've done it terrifically well. It's something they've embraced. But as much as we love emotion, I think system beats emotion. I think Sydney have got the supreme system in the competition at the moment, and yeah, they'll be lifting the cup on the last Saturday of the year.
Well, that's where we have it for that prelim. Obviously, you can catch the rest of our previews for this weekend for Brisbane and Geelong on Friday night, as well as some trade talk, all on Zero Hanger TV on YouTube, as well as our site, zerohanger.com. And for your latest news, views and opinions, you can head to Zero Hanger. But that'll wrap us up ahead of the preliminary final week. Thanks once again for watching.